As soon as I got home, Diego threw me the bag and ordered, "Hey, you fix it." Before telling you my story, if you want to stay updated, remember to subscribe and activate the bell. Lately, I had lost the strength to react, so I simply gave it a dirty look before picking it up. As I was putting everything back together, a document stood out. It was a divorce petition. Diego's part was already filled out. At that moment, while we were arguing, something inside me broke. The possibility of divorcing this man suddenly made me feel lighter. I took a pen from the drawer and filled out the form, but never signed it. Let's take a step back and you'll understand how we met. My name is Laura, I'm 35 years old and I worked as an administrative assistant in a software company. I was lucky enough to have pleasant colleagues and a peaceful working environment, which allows me to live without too much stress. However, I couldn't find a partner. I went to many office parties and dates organized by friends, but nothing ever worked out. Every time one of my friends announced their wedding, I would get so nervous it would give me a headache. Then, during a company party, while I was drinking my drink, a man sat down next to me. It was Diego, the one who would become my husband. "Laura, right? How do you know my name?" Diego asked me. We were in different departments and had never spoken before. He explained that he had been worried when he saw me always alone during breaks. We continued talking and, by the end of the evening, we exchanged phone numbers. From then on, we started chatting more and more often, both at work and outside. Thanks also to alcohol, we continued to hang out outside of work, often going for a drink together. Diego was always kind and funny, and I felt more and more attracted to him. My colleagues noticed our growing closeness, but it didn't worry us. Diego remained the same even after we started dating. He was always kind and cheerful, and being with him made me feel at ease. After about 6 months, Diego revealed to me, "Hey, I actually have a son." He explained that he was divorced and raising his teenage son, Marco, as a single father. He asked me if I would like to marry him someday. I was surprised but happy that he thought of a future with me. After a few months, we got married, but the happiness was short-lived. After the wedding, Diego showed his true character. I quit my job and stayed home, limiting myself to household chores. I started painting as a hobby and my room filled up with watercolors and brushes. As time went by, however, the situation worsened. Diego began to make increasingly absurd requests, and any resistance from me was met with indifference or annoyance. His behavior was wearing me down, but I tried to bear it for Marco's sake. Diego was becoming moody. He ignored me, responded curtly, and didn't seem to appreciate anything I did. I tried to talk to him, to try to understand what was bothering him, but every attempt was in vain. The situation was becoming unbearable. However, the tension at home was palpable. Our relationship was crumbling, and I was increasingly thinking about divorce. But the thought of Marco held me back. I didn't want him to suffer because of our decisions. I continued to paint to vent the frustration and sadness that was weighing me down. Painting had become my refuge, a way to escape the reality of a marriage that was now just a facade. Diego started coming home very late. He texted me saying he would be home at midnight. I feared he was cheating on me, but without proof I hesitated to confront him. I began to notice small changes, different scents on his clothes, deleted messages on his phone, more frequent nights out. Every little clue fueled my suspicions, but without concrete proof I felt helpless. When Marco told us he was getting married, and the wedding preparations began, I tried to hide my discomfort and devoted myself enthusiastically, so as not to ruin Marco's special moment. However, the constant presence of Maria, the future bride's sister, who worked with Diego, began to annoy me. She was always too close to Diego. Even during the wedding, I noticed that Maria was very close to him, but I didn't pay attention. After the ceremony, Diego threw me his bag and ordered, "Hey, housekeeper, take care of this." Exhausted, I gathered up the scattered papers and found the divorce form again, with a phone and some photos of him with Maria. This time, I decided to take action. I filled out my part of the form and left the house. I went to the office and filed the divorce papers. I arranged a meeting at home to talk about it with Marco and Diego. Diego initially denied everything, but when I showed him the evidence of his relationship with Maria, he admitted the truth. I decided to move to a nearby city, where I knew a good boy, who studied with me. I went back to work part-time and my life improved. One day, while I was at the supermarket, I met Felipe. I immediately felt the same sensations that years before made me fall in love with Diego, and I immediately understood that he could be the love of my life. We left the supermarket and walked. He told me about his travels around the world, and how he had lived his life. After that day, we met for several months until I decided to move in with him and live together in his house. As time passed, I felt more and more at peace and satisfied with my new life. Salvatore's house was a place of love and laughter, and I felt welcomed like I had never felt before. I started working part-time at a supermarket near my home, where I found kind colleagues and a peaceful environment. It was a new feeling for me, that of being appreciated for who I was, without having to try to be someone else. In my free time, I continued to paint. My works began to receive appreciation, and even some requests to purchase them. I never imagined that what started as a simple distraction would become a real passion. Painting allowed me to express emotions that I had kept inside for too long. Meanwhile, Diego had been demoted and Maria had left the company, and they broke up. My life, however, continues peacefully, surrounded by Felipe's love, and soon we will give birth to a child. Every day will be a new challenge, but I finally feel ready to face them all, with a smile on my lips and a light heart.